But usually we have we usually open with a tabata today, so we want to do that. Talk about while we wait for our guests, we want to talk about some trending issues before we get started on our topic for today. Um, so first, there's two items we want to talk about today. First on our list, uh, Larry, do you have the slide? Let me put that up and get you guys' reaction on that. All right, let me see here. Okay, so we got that on the way. Hopefully, I can get that.
I think, yeah, there you
You
go.
have it? No?
No, that was the cover for today's discussion. But I think the Tabata, Alex wanted to open up with
Okay,
the,
go for it.
yeah, Alex, I think you wanted to open up with the situation at the airport, right?
Yeah, we had two, basically two, we're talking about state-owned enterprises. So we have a situation at the airport, the Rabat International Airport in Liberia, with the recent appointment of the nomination of an individual for the managing director
Hmm.
of the Liberia Airport Authority, and then the noise surrounding that, and whether the president has withdrawn that nomination or not is a question that is also floating around. And then whether the person inflated or by some way, with all due respect to the individual, told some things that are not too true, or and then maybe the government of Liberia without checking, or maybe they too aided and abetted the individual with the information that is on his resume by putting that on the executive mansion website as part of his nomination. And then I also received, some calls regarding people wanted to understand what's the difference between the RIA, the Rabat International Airport, the Liberia Airport Authority, the LAA, and the Liberia Civil Aviation Authority, the LCAA. So people wanted to understand that kind of stuff. So I thought it was something worth just an icebreaker talking
Yeah.
about. And then also the recent burning of the National Transit Authority administrative building that is located in Ghana's Bay. They call that
Mm.
area MTA, and that area was named after, of course, the institution when it was called Monrovia Transit Authority.
Right.
Yeah, it is
Interesting.
now called in National Transit Authority because it serves the entire Liberia. In fact, it goes to Sierra Leone these days as well.
All right. So what before we jump into that, I want to give Larry the opportunity to introduce our guest. I think we have two.
Yeah, so
Gray
before
and
we jump to the
Momo.
Tabata, let me quickly welcome my friend and brother, Cyrus Gray. The topic for today was really to kind of take a look at the Liberia Maritime. Cyrus has experience in that area. The Maritime is a great revenue generation a program for Liberia. Cyrus will tell us a little bit more about it. And this goes back to the statement made by the United States ambassador to Liberia, Ambassador
Mm.
McCarthy, last year. He made a statement that Liberians need to benefit a little bit more from the maritime. So today's topic is really, are Liberians actually benefiting from the maritime? We rarely hear a whole lot about the maritime, but the maritime plays an important role. In case a lot of you people may not know, the maritime generate a ton of revenue, but how much of that is actually going back to Liberia and how Liberia is benefiting from it? This is something we'll dive into with Cyrus. So just a quick microphone check. Cyrus, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Loud and
Perfect.
clear.
Yes.
And also,
Yeah.
Cyrus, we have Prince Mobile. We're in simulcast on 105.5 Prime FM in Monrovia. Just want to do a quick sound check. Prince, can you hear us as well?
Yes, I can hear you live and clear. Yeah, I hear it.
Okay,
Perfect.
perfect. So yeah, that's the. We can probably go over to Cyrus. He can introduce himself, and then I'll
Yeah.
swing it back to you, Gabriel, and you can lead us on.
Yes, Cyrus. Again, welcome. Nice to meet you. Would you please introduce yourself for our audience?
Oh, well, guys, good evening. My name is Cyrus Gray. I'm in Monrovia. Personally, I run a project office called In Safety Tech.
Mhm.
Um, 6 months ago, I was a supply chain advisor for USAID Liberia, managing the health commodities the U.S. government brings to Liberia. I'm trained in maritime affairs and technology project management for logistics. So I'm a graduate of University of Houston and the World Maritime University. For the last 20 years, more or less, I've worked in the supply chain industry with span in airports, seaports, and providing 4PL services for the movement of cargo around the world. I think it's a synopsis of what I've been doing. I consider myself a maritime expert.
Okay. Well, welcome to Focus on Liberia. It's nice to have you here, and welcome to the last time. Before we
Thank you.
meeting, I don't know how we usually do that. I suppose we're supposed to, yeah, you're supposed to introduce yourself, right? I think that's how it goes, right? I know you're with, what is it, Prime 105. Would you like to do that? I mean, I suppose they already know you. Maybe I'm messing something up here, and you guys help me out here if I'm messing something
No,
up.
that's fine. Yeah, Prince, just go ahead, quick intro. I don't believe you've met Cyrus before.
Yeah, so let me say welcome to the show, sir. My name is Prince. I work from Evident Monrovia, 105 Liberian journalist. And it's great to have this conversation. This is the first time we've not met. This is the first time we are the internet on the show. So it's great to be here, and I'm just here to, have your progress been relayed to our Liberian citizens that are following the other video here in Liberia.
Perfect. So without further
Thank you,
ado,
Prince. Just so you guys know, we got a challenge here. We got an internet challenge here, so more than likely, I may be pushed on and off, but we'll try the best we can.
yeah,
And
we
I think you got a light challenge too because your place dark.
we
Yeah,
can
no,
see.
Liberia. So
Yeah,
let's
we can
dive
see you.
right-
I
Yeah,
can tell you.
Hey,
I can
Maybe
tell you that.
dive right into
I
it.
live here alone, so I don't. Yeah, Alex, I live here alone, so I don't have a lot of light, so I'll try.
Cyrus,
No,
just a little advice.
we're just saying that we can also understand, in as much as we can understand with the internet issue, we can understand with the light issue.
So Alex, I'll let you take it
No,
away
the
with
light
the
issue is my issue is not LEC.
Oh,
but so because of
ahead.
the internet challenge and stuff, maybe we can do the Tabatat later in case we lose
That is a
Cyrus.
good idea.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's
maybe we can dive right into the whole maritime thing with Cyrus, and he can kind of lead us on.
Right.
So, Alex, you want to do that, or you want me to pose the first question to Cyrus?
Yeah, I can go ahead. So
Just-
what we try to do, Cyrus, is to provide some education or clarity around some of these things to our listening public. So we invite an expert like you to kind of explain some things. So we like to start with some basic questions and definition that people are normally confused about. So today we are talking about the maritime. So, and most of the time, from some of us when we're young, from Doe administration, we knew Liberia Maritime Authority. I think it was Liberia Maritime something or agency, and then
Bureau of Maritime Affairs.
Bureau of Maritime generated a lot of money and all kinds of corruption and different things were going around it. So we want to understand, and then now people are getting to understand what is the shipping registry or something like that. So what is the shipping registry? What is then we understand about LISCR being involved. So what is this LISCR? So what is Liberia Maritime Authority? What is their function? What is LISCR? What's the difference between LISCR and Liberia Maritime Authority? So if you can give put some meaning to some of these things as a startup.
Okay, so let me do a quick synopsis, right? You guys can hear me still, right?
Yes.
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 So the maritime affairs is about ocean shipping, basically, and ocean shipping from the commercial perspective mainly. Now, if you put into perspective a container ship, I will use it as an illustration, right? One container ship carrying 5,000 containers. more than likely, those 5,000 containers are owned by hundreds of persons. The ship itself is owned by maybe a conglomerate or an individual or a corporation. Then the ship has a crew. The crew may be multinationals from all different countries around the world. Then the ship calls ports, which are different countries. So traditionally, it became a norm that because the ship trades in international water where there's no jurisdiction, if there were to be any conflict between any player that has to do with the ship, whether owner or cargo or the crew member or the ship owner, it would be difficult to adjudicate that dispute in the absence of a particular jurisdiction because each person probably will want to use their own law. So for ages, it has been the norm that a ship above 500 deadweight ton has to have a nationality. That means it has to be registered in a flag. The logic is that when that ship is registered in that flag, that means the laws of that country applies to the ship in the event of any issue. Now, by the same token, the global body organized itself into what is today now the International Maritime Organization. And they draw up hundreds of laws governing the ship, safety issue, how cargo is loaded and all that. So they hold the state whose flag that ship flies responsible to enforce those laws on the ship. So if a ship, a Liberian flag ship was to go into the Ukraine, for example, and incur costs there that it can pay or cost of spillage in Ukrainian waters, the first person the Ukrainians will contact will be Liberia because the ship is Liberia, technically. So because of this characteristic, two sets of costs have been directly attached to it. Because the ship is in your flag, you can charge the ship based on the size of the ship a fee, which is called a tonnage tax.
Okay.
Well, eventually, the IMO developed something called the sister ship rule. Because if a ship was to come to Liberia and it's left the port without paying their bills, they spill out of the port, and it never came to Liberia, it would be difficult to catch that ship. So the sister ship rule basically says that most ships are part of a company that have many ships. So if one ship has a liability in the port, when another ship that's owned by that company comes in the port, it's fair game for you to hold that ship until that liability is settled. So because of that, ship owners register all their ships as separate corporations so that one corporation's liability is not spilled over to the other corporation, even though they may have 20 ships, but each of these ships is a company by itself. And that generates a new set of revenue for the flag state, which is called a corporate tax, because they charge each of these ships corporate taxes. Having said that, this is just the regulatory component of shipping, because the shipping industry itself, 99% of the actual shipping is commercial. So there are huge opportunities there, but we've been tied. Our involvement in shipping, more or less, is in the registry. And we did not originate this. So somewhere around 1947, 48, the largest registry in the world was the Panama.
Yeah.
And the Panamanian government had a conflict. Yeah, they had an issue. Most of these ships were American ships, right? So the Americans used Panama as a haven, and they had an issue. I don't want to delve into the details; it will take up most of your time. But the net effect was that you had a new Panamanian president that was not in good relationship with the ship owners. So they decided to look for a friendly country to move their ships. So the U.S. Secretary then, Edward Stettiner, came to Liberia to open the port, the free port of Monrovia, and he cut a deal with Tubman that suppose we open a maritime registry in Liberia. Tubman said, look, we don't know about maritime. How do we do that? He said, well, you don't have to worry about it. We open a registry for Liberia, and we man the registry. So we put our people together in the United States, and they will regulate those ships, which were basically their own ships.
Right.
And whatever fees we collect in the two categories, the tonnage or the corporate taxes, we will cover operating costs, and then we'll retain 20% of the net income and give you the 80%. That 80% is what we have all been knowing about for all these years as the maritime money. So the first company that Stettiner got the ship owners to set up was called the International Registry Incorporated, IRI. In fact, the deal was so lame-sided towards the Americans that the U.S. Congress, in looking at Liberian maritime law, insisted that, look, in order for some of this money, the cash flow to go through Liberia, you must open a bank. So they made it mandatory that IRI open a bank. That's where we had the ITC bank, so that maritime money filters through the ITC bank. Somewhere around 1999, I'll say 1997, 98, the registry, the Liberian registry, now being run for all these years by IRI, became a little threatened because of the war in Liberia. And illegally, they went to the Marshall Islands and they opened another registry using Liberia's proprietary resources as a buffer, just in case, because there was a call from some camps in the United States to avoid the Liberian flag. So IRI started to protect themselves by opening the Marshall Island and pushing some of the ships there gradually. That led to a conflict with the Liberian government. In 1999, the government filed a suit against the IRI that IRI was now using Liberian resources to run a competitive registry, which they were doing. And it eventually led to the Liberian government taking the rights from IRI and then licensing a new maritime registry. Now we have called LISCR.
Wow.
So the IRI, our old friends, went to the Marshall Islands, which they still manage, and literally split the number of ships in the Liberian flag because they took some with them, and then some left behind with us. By the same token, the revenue that Liberia was receiving from maritime up to 99, 2000, literally cut in half. So Liberia, then the leading maritime country, literally now dropped to the second leading maritime country in terms of the size of a fleet. It has become competitive because the second and third, Liberia and Marshall Islands, are one day one is up, one day one is down. Today, Liberia is still the second largest maritime registry. But just to give a synopsis, this is where we are. There are a lot more about it, our role in how this split took place and all that. And when we come to some specifics, I can go into that. I hope
let me come in for a second. Gabriel, if you can
talk about maritime affairs.
Yeah, go ahead,
Gabriel,
Alex. Larry, go ahead.
Put up the graphics real quick.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Cyrus, just want to get this clear.
Yes, we can hear you, Depo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Cyrus, it sounds like Liberia created their own competition, not Liberia, or the Americans created a competition for Liberia by bringing the Marshall Islands into play. Is that correct? Because based on what you're saying, I see Liberia, based on this data, is ranked number 2, but
correct.
Marshall
So
Islands,
what it did, they literally replicated what it did in Liberia. What they did in 1948, they just did it in Marshall Islands also, except that they were using resources that were proprietary to us. The logic was that they were feeling insecure because of the war, the isolation of the government under Charles Taylor. There was fear or sounding that in fact pressure may be brought to bear on the registry and Liberia will lose their ship. So they were securing their interest by creating another flag, which was unethical and illegal. Yeah.
I mean, would you? I have a question. Would you think that is illegal? Because I think they were hedging their bet just in case the war in Liberia continue. Hey, we don't want to lose our interest, so they were hedging their bets, right? So I think it was incumbent upon us after the war was over for us to go back to them and say, hey, the war is over. How do we rectify this? And so you guys don't have to have this hedge going now that continue to remain in place. Have we ever done that at all?
Yeah, so let me double down on it a little bit. Yeah, so I don't believe that trend will have been revised for a couple of reasons. First, they had a registry already, and they have set up shop in the Marshall Islands, and they moved flags there. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, just around 1997, Liberia was still indebted to the IMO in dues up to around $3 million.
That makes sense.
And
okay.
Liberia, the dues of the IMO is based on the size of your fleet, right?
Yeah.
So Liberia could not pay that due and was an embarrassment to the ship owners. So the Liberian government went to the ship owners. The ship owners operate under a group called the Ship Owners Council, and they asked them to help to pay that dues. I'm trying to give a correlation or answer your question why it may not have been likely for
No,
a
that makes
reversal.
sense. Yeah. Go
The
ahead.
ship owners set up a fund, and they task each ship around the same time Liberia is arguing about the Marshall Islands issue with the agent. The
Right,
ship
right.
owners pumped close to $27 million in that account. That money was depleted by the Liberian government without paying the $3 million we owe.
Okay.
So the ship
Wow.
owners were furious. They called the Liberian government in 1999 in Stockholm with Benedict Ure as the commissioner to ask what has become of the money. And he was very dismissive of them. Why this conflict is ensuing between the register, IRI, and the government of Liberia. So when the issue came to a head and the IRI was moving to Marshall Islands, a good number of ship owners, because of their disgruntlement, moved along with IRI to the Marshall Islands, literally
I would
split the
too.
registry in half. So to your question, if that issue would have been resolved, it doesn't seem to me that the underpinnings that were playing at the time that would have been the case.
No, thank you. That explains it. I mean, if you have $27 million, what is it? Another $3 million
Are you
going
guys
missing.
hearing me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, loud and
Yeah.
clear.
If you have money missing, the way you can account for it, it explains why they have to create a subdivision to bring those ships over. But thank you for answering that question. I'll hand it over to Larry and Alex.
Yeah, so definitely we can hear you now. You want to? Oh, Alex, you want to?
But the
come in
other
real
thing
quick?
is, the other thing I will add to that, though, if I may add, if I may add, Larry. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
Cyrus.
go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead, Cyrus. We can hear you.
I can't hear anybody, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Look, if we are talking about money, the ship the corporate and tonnage tax that we're talking about is really nominal, small money compared to the bigger scheme of what happens in the maritime industry. I think we are being fixated on the registry money, and we have not participated in the maritime market. So that even by the time this conflict was arising, I mean, maritime school, Liberia did not even know in specifics how many ships and the types and sizes were in the registry. So we just sit back and wait for that money every year.
Wow. Thank you. I mean, man, you just shed light on this whole thing. I think I just learned a whole lot about it. I don't know about everybody else, but I just learned. It just gave us a good insight into this whole problem, why we're not leveraging the revenue from the maritime. Now you just told us that there's a whole lot of underlying things happening, for which we are where we are. But again, I will pass this down to Larry and or Depu or Alex to come in. Thank you.
So Cyrus, I think I now understand what the Liberian International Ship and Corporate Registry, which is called the Liberian Registry for short, is, right? From the explanation you just gave. That is, my common understanding is that is where all the ships that are under the Liberian flag, that is where they are registered, right? Where the details and everything is registered, right? Cyrus. Ooh.
I don't think he can hear us.
He can hear us. Ooh.
Yeah. Can you hear us? I guess we have to use the chat. He can't hear us.
Hey, Cyrus, can you hear us? Can you know? And I think it's his internet.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's his.
No,
Cyrus,
Alex,
you know-
I did not hear that. I did not hear the
Cyrus,
last
one
comment.
second.
You can still hear me, right?
Yeah, Cyrus,
Yes,
one
now we
second.
can.
So sometimes if the video, you're using a lot of bandwidth with the video, if you just remove the video, we can hear you clearly. Sometimes it uses less internet. Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Alex.
So Alex, you asked a question. If you can repeat that, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, so now we understand. I was trying to say that now from the explanation you gave, I understand what is called the Liberian International Ship and Corporate Registry, which for short is the Liberian Registry, right? So is it where all the ships that are flying the Liberian flag, is it where they all or every details about them, is it where they is indicated, right? Yeah, he still can hear us.
Yeah, you still can hear us. Yeah. There's a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
meat
Alex, the
on this
question, the
bone.
answer to that question is LISCR, the
Alex, your
LISCR.
question is.
Yeah, LISCR is oh, go ahead, Alex.
So let me.
Cyrus.
I didn't hear the question specifically.
What is
Larry,
the Liberian Registry?
Larry, could you repeat that question? You say it said where all the ships. I'm struggling to get it. So, but wait, go ahead.
Alex, take your time to repeat the question. I think it's maybe the speed.
So let me say something. If you guys can still hear me,
Right.
Check the chat.
Alex, the LISCR is the agent of the government of Liberia in regulating the ships that are flying our flags. I think as part of this new arrangement, the Maritime Authority also gave them the responsibility to manage the maritime school that is here. What they basically do is that they implement the laws that have been promulgated by the International Maritime Organization to regulate ships. So the safety of the ship issues, the ship inspection, licensing, and all that. The point of contact for that is LISCR. This is the Liberian example. Is a strange animal. Liberia is the only country, and now the Marshall Islands, in the world where a private institution carries on the state function in regulating the ships. In other countries, it's the government that does that. So basically, it's not a commercial issue. It's really a regulatory issue where you are licensed under us. We're making sure that you are safe. All the conventions that has to do with how you dispose of spillage from the ship, we are the ones who ensure that you enforce it. In addition to something called port state control, because in each port there are authorities there that will validate whether these ships are in compliance. Like where they are not, then they will contact Liberia so that we can ensure enforcement of the compliance before that ship sails out of that port. And for that, we get those 2 sets of fees.
Right. Depo, you have any questions?
Yes, thank you so much, Cyrus. I'm getting better understanding of this whole.
We're going to be we're talking about opportunities today. So, but probably.
The question that I have for you is that what was the registry? Let's say the level at the time prior to this LISCR agreement with government of Liberia, and considering the period LISCR took over to now, what have been the performance in your own professional view? Has it been, up to standard compared to what we have with the RRI?
That's a great question.
So good question. And there has always been that issue about the safety of the ship. There are books written about it. And every time you hear the open registry, the other word for it is the flag of convenience. It leaves the impression that the ships in those registries are not safe. That is not true. So the ships in the Liberian registry are properly regulated, and they are safe ships. In fact, the largest element of the Liberian registry are the tankers of the world. The major oil tankers are in the Liberian registry. That's the largest size of our fleet. And allow me to go into why the Liberian registry and open registries like Panama and Marshall Islands and other small countries that have ships have a bad rap in the international maritime world.
Please do.
Shipping business is very lucrative. So you have generally 2 sets of registries. You have the closed registry and you have the open registry. Now that it's an amalgamation of some countries now that are having both elements of closed and open registry. But what is a closed registry? the closed registry is most of the Western countries, the United States and the European countries. Their citizens own those vessels, and the vessels that are flying their flag are protected for the nationals of those countries. So an American flag ship, for example, can only hire American crew, and their wage rates are highly protected. All their benefits are higher.
Right.
In a closed registry country, the open registry country, for example, Liberia, there's no restriction on who you can hire as long as the crew has the right certifications. And the certifications are the same. All the master licenses and all are drawn up by the International Maritime Organization. Now, why is this important? An American captain could easily get $1 million as annual income. Whereas a Filipino captain, because the Filipinos decided they would invest in maritime schools and they would train equally qualified crewmen and offer them at very low rate because the economy is low. So the Filipino captain could take $150,000, $200,000 a year, but the American captain can take $1 million. But you cannot put a Filipino captain on an American ship because only American citizens should be on those ships. Right. So the American ship owner, the second largest cost for running a vessel is the crew cost, the cost of the guys who work on the ship. So if that cost is very high because you are in a closed registry and you have an opportunity to, and your competition, for example, you have the same size of ship, they're running between Long Beach, California, and Japan. So they are charging almost the same price for the containers. Yet, because you are in the US registry or the closed registry, your crew, your employee cost is much higher than the guy in the Liberian registry because he can hire the guy from Philippines. So because of that competitive advantage, from a poor country like Liberia, who they perceive have not invested in owning ships yet, they create a condition where a ship owner from America is hiring Filipino and taking taking employment from American citizens. So from ages, the International Labor Union, the International or Transport Federation has been the agency to undermine the image of the open registry. And I am of the view as a maritime person that that is a normal phenomenon. The maritime, the open registry, we put basically nothing in it. For example, Liberia. So we take the agent, the Americans, say, look, find ships, put it in the registry, collect the money, take care of your operating costs, give us 80% of the net income. What we have done as a country, we have not evolved from that scenario since it was established in 1948. Why would I say that? Because the lion's share of the benefits that a country and its citizens can get from the maritime affairs is in the other sector. For example, why are we not having crews on the ships? The ships are flying our flag. They're flying an open registry, so they are taking in labor that is much cheaper than the closed registry. Why don't we train people and offer them to our ship owners, just as the Filipinos are doing that? Right. That has not been our strategy at all. Okay, the other thing is the fleet that we have. For example, if we have a cruise ship that takes 5,000 persons to go into the West Indies and is flying our flag, by the same logic, that cruise ship is a Liberian territory. So the communication spectrum licenses, cable TV that's on that ship should be licensed also by us. So theoretically, our national carrier, Liberian Telecommunication Authority, can be brought forward to the ship owners that for you to put telecommunication equipment on that ship or services, you have to go through LTC. Even if we do not have the capacity, it gave us an opportunity to partner with a bigger player, Comcast or whatever, but some of the money stays with us because technically
that would
it is
be
our
additional
territory.
return.
We have not had interest in those kinds of issues. Yeah.
So Cyrus, based on what you're saying,
those are just two examples I would give, but there are many more.
So
Yeah,
based on
thank
what
you.
you're saying, I guess Gabriel, you can probably put up this slide that they, in your opinion, so do you think Liberians are benefiting? I mean, the U.S. ambassador is asking for Liberians to benefit from LISCR programs. In your opinion, in your expert opinion, do you think Liberians are benefiting from LISCR?
So what is LISCR's responsibility? LISCR's responsibility is to regulate the flag that in our registry, look for more ships that come, they cover their operating costs, they take off their 20% agency fee, and they give us the 80% that is part of the net income. In that case, we are benefiting.
Okay,
And
but
it's
what
not
about the statement? I
LISCR's,
see
it's
something
not,
here
it's
from
not, it's not
Frida's.
LISCR's, it's not LISCR's fault. I mean, what I'm saying is that
Okay.
the Maritime is more than that.
I see a comment over here from one of the viewers. He's saying Liberia has 47. I don't know if you can put it up, Gabriel. He's saying Liberia has 4,700 ships sailing Liberian flag, and we don't have Liberians on board. How true is that?
Is that amount correct?
Good point. So the last I checked, Liberia had a fleet size of about 3,726. So it fluctuates. Liberia,
Yeah.
the registry has been increasing somewhat in the last year or two. So the last I checked, we had 3,726 ships in our registry, and the Marshall Islands had 3,719. It just closely following.
Should we have some Liberians on
Panama
board these
has
ships?
about 2 times that number, but that doesn't say everything because the number of ships and the size of ship it doesn't necessarily correlate. We do not have significant Liberian presence on those vessels.
And that's the problem. I have a follow-up question. If nobody else
So
has
we have a maritime school, for example, but vessels higher.
So Cyrus.
So what we are training people here, we're training. Yeah.
So Cyrus, all these people then we're training at the Liberian Maritime Institute. All these there are some people that have gone to even Ghana at the regional Maritime Training Institute. Liberians have trained there. So where are they?
I don't think he heard you. Sarah, did you hear the question?
Alex, again, I can't hear you. I get a sense you were saying that we've been sending people to training here in the Maritime School and then some to the regional Maritime Academy in Ghana and other places. And how is that we don't have a significant Liberians on the ships? Is that correct?
That was the question. Yes.
If that is your question, Alex, then this is the answer. What we are doing is small and segmental. So how do you crew a ship? Because these ships are very sophisticated equipment. They're carrying billions of dollars of cargo over one period. For example, I mean the average container ships now that are applying the global trade are carrying about 18,000 containers. 18,000 20-footed containers. The tradition now is that there was an incident, I think in 1988, a ship went under in the port of Denmark called the Herald of Free Enterprise. And what the maritime ship owners learned from this exercise was that this was a ro-ro vessel. A ro-ro vessel is basically a ship that opens from both sides. And it car vehicles, heavy equipment, trains roll into it and they seal up. And they are used in short sea shipping. So they're used to a large extent in places like Scandinavia, between Denmark, Norway, and whatnot. So the Herald of Free Enterprise is loading cargo and passengers at the port of Copenhagen. When they get through to pull out, the hatch did not close completely because probably some metal left in between there. When they pulled out into the sea, in less than 5 minutes, the ship went under. Ship sank and a lot of people died. And in the investigation of that incident, they realized that this was something that could have been remedied in seconds. But the crew panicked because they had a multinational crew on board that vessel and they could not communicate in sync. So people were speaking Ukrainian, people speaking Russian, people speaking Chinese. They never got around solving that problem, and within few minutes the ship went under. So it has become a tradition to hire a national crew. How is that a problem for us? To hire a national crew, you need a ship captain, you need a first officer, second officer, marine engineers, and all that before you come to the basic able-bodied men on the ship. Most of what we are training here are able-bodied men. They are not at the level to be masters or second officers to manage a vessel. So when we train them, we try to match them to vessels that will be acceptable to bringing in a single person or two persons from Liberia. We do not have a program that is training a national crew with all the capacities from the top to the lowest.
Wow.
And this is what the industry demands.
Okay. So if go ahead, Depo. Go ahead.
And that goes back to my question I asked earlier. I didn't know that you didn't get me.
It looked like we have paused. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you.
Cyrus, are you hearing me?
Yeah, he's got serious internet connectivity in Liberia, and that's a challenge in Liberia. You know, it's hard to really bring people in sometimes with the connectivity.
I had a lot of follow-up questions, but hopefully he'll be able to come back.
Yeah, that's the reason why I wanted him to give us clarity on the pre and post Maritime LISCR project.
Okay.
Yeah, because the pre and post will give us insight on.
Yeah, if
I want to hear from Prince too. What do you think about Maritime?
He's back.
He's back. So let's.
Are you there, Cyrus?
I don't see Cyrus in the back end.
Yeah, I can hear you guys. I'm here. I see a question Alex asked us. So why do we need LISCR and not LMA to manage the registry? I guess I've elaborated. We do not have the capacity to do that. We have never prepared ourselves to do that.
So when we have LMA and we're paying all these salaries and different things, so what does the LMA do, Cyrus? What does the LMA do?
So if I want to be honest with you, they didn't do too much, right? The ideal situation would be, for example, the agent has offices in almost all the major maritime capitals: Japan, Hamburg, Copenhagen, Greece. When I said in Europe, I went to Greece. There's a whole maritime office there, and all the guys who were handling their cards are Greek or American people. We have not staffed these areas, even at the middle or lower technical level, with Liberians. They are all more or less manned by foreigners. So I cannot say that the LMA will be able to manage the registry, but I think that we could adopt a policy to push Liberians who have the requisite training into those offices around the world, and maybe evolve over time. So maybe in the next 20 years, 10 years, we can say that we got a Liberian who's managing the maritime office for LISCR in Greece or in Singapore, or something like that.
This is gut-wrenching to hear.
Cyrus, maybe you need to, I know whatever you're using in your ear, maybe that's the one you're using, your headphone. It's not the one that's having the problem?
Yeah, I think you're clearer now, Alex. I don't know, maybe where you were
all these years,
Cyrus,
let me speak real Liberian English now. Because the thing you taught Jenna is for my mouth. So all these years we've been running Maritime. We've been able to train people. You want to tell me that the Liberia that I put my neck on the line, that we have professionals in different fields. You mean we don't have professionals to go
in the maritime space?
In the maritime space, or in management, or in administration, or people. I mean, I think they are
Alex,
bring skills that can be transferable.
I see your frustration, but the maritime industry is a specialized industry. So I'll give you some illustration, right? There are Liberians. I think in 2018, right after the election, I did an article calling this same issue that you are raising and sent a shopping list of Liberians who were trained in maritime affairs. On the side of many a ship, it's a little specialized. You need to train people to specific roles on that ship. It has to be a
technical
program.
Right. Okay.
But say maritime administration, we have many Liberians who were trained in maritime administration. The late Christian Herbert, he was one of the best respected trained Liberians. You should read his dissertation about the Liberian maritime program. But he returned to Liberia and he was not absorbed in the maritime industry to work. I would say more than 80% of those who are trained do not get to work in the maritime industry.
Why?
The International Maritime Organization, based in London, I think it's just bad. Place
I mean, a perfect case is himself.
I'll tell you
He's
the
trained in that, but I don't
downside
think
to
he's
it,
working
which is
in that.
almost what you're saying.
But
No,
you are
I'm
saying,
not. I mean, I'm working in that sector, but in the private. I've never worked with the LMA, even though I've been available. I've worked in the private
Case in
sector
point.
in the States.
Perfect example.
USAID here, and here's where it's bad, right?
I mean, you're explaining all
At
this
the
thing that you're
International
expert, and
Maritime,
I'm surprised that you have not.
at the International Maritime,
You are not even getting a consultant.
at the International Maritime. No, and we've reached out at the International Maritime Organization office in London. 90% of the permanent representatives are graduates of the World Maritime University
Man,
or
Cyrus, I'm
International
shocked, man.
Maritime Law
I'm
Institute in
shocked.
Malta. We are the only people. We are the only people who have commissioners there who have no maritime background. So if we went to
Cyrus,
London, if I went to London to the IMO, like I used to
1947.
do when I was in Europe, I get more respect at the IMO because of my colleagues and alma maters than our permanent representative.
So how do you think we can change that going forward, given where we are right now? We I guess you have just laid the cream of the abyss of that we're in right now, right? How do we change that to make sure that what you I think from
Wait, Gabriel Wade. You mean that thing been going on since third month since 1947?
I mean, he just laid it out. He just laid it out. He just put, spread the crap on the table.
Let me give you and that's the reason why we are having this discussion too, though, because the leaders in the industry, our leaders in the industry are not trained in the industry, so they don't see the opportunities. There are many young Liberians who have been trained in this top-notch maritime school who are here and they're working somewhere else if they are working, or they've gone to the States and whatever. In some cases, they are not working. Let me give you another quick example, right? Under maritime law, this coastal state has the responsibility as to provide refuge as the first responder in the event of disaster in our territorial water. We have 350 miles of coastline, and we have 200 miles into the sea as our exclusive economic zone. So we have technically 70,000 nautical square miles of water where we have responsibilities for. The largest portion of the fleet that's registered in our flag are tankers. They are carrying crude oil or products.
Right.
Most of them carry crude oil from the Gulf countries.
Yeah.
So they come down through the Cape, South Africa. At some point in time, they pass through our water to go to places like Houston, where most of the world's refineries are. If you go to the law that says that if a vessel is in distress in your water, you're responsible to provide refuge, we do not have that capacity, even though we don't see them, but a good number of these tankers pass through our waters. Guess what? This is not a budgetary issue. Because we have that international responsibility, it will be in our right to call the tanker owners and say, guess what? Can you invest in a search and rescue capability in Cape Palmas,
right,
in Greenville, in Riverside, in Grand Bassa, in Cape Mount, so that that capacity will be there in the event of a disaster, so that we meet up with the requirement of the International Maritime Organization that holds us responsible for this territory. I can tell you these guys are going to make that kind of money available. That employs 1,000 people in technical area, like fire brigades who are sitting down with the right equipment waiting in the event of incidents so they can move in. We do not have such a capacity. And the reason we do not have it, it might very well be that the people who are leading our maritime industry are not all current with this opportunity and what needs to be done to put it into motion.
Yeah,
that's just
I don't
one
know
other area. I mean, in addition to the issue of telecommunication on the vessels and all that.
I don't know if anybody else has questions. I have two questions from the revenue standpoint that I wanted to dig in. So I will. I know you had a question.
Can I come back? Cyrus, thank you for the deliberation. I'm thinking besides the having a crew team, not having complete crew team, what's the employment opportunity in terms of seamen getting on board from the language, let's say English speaking country ship versus being the foreign language speaking ship, because Liberia may not have the capacity to have a whole crew team, but incrementally Liberia can at least make provision for the capacity you have, the number of manpower you have. In the meantime, incrementally to make sure that you have a team, but different means. I don't know why is it difficult to do that. Is it the law from the regulation from the IMO, or is it because we have not accessed the opportunity?
So a ship owner will require the crewman that's coming on the ship to be trained and licensed. One, the ship owner will prefer a national crew. We do not have a program that is training a set of crews to sit with a ship owner and put on a vessel. It's not impossible for us to do. It's not. So we as a country, and a maritime country for that matter, our friends, the United States, the Europeans, they have the best maritime schools. So we can go to the Texas Maritime Academy in Galveston, for example, or the Great Lakes Maritime Academy in Traverse City, Michigan, and cut a deal and say, guess what? We like to enter into a relationship with you to send our cadets to be trained as ship captains, to be trained as marine engineers. At the same time, then we send the counterpart crew that will be trained in the lower level to the regional academy in Ghana, or what is it that is being offered in Marshall, and program it sufficiently that by the time they are walking out of those institutions, we have sets of Liberian crews that we can send as interim on vessels that are flying our flag. And we can start from 10 to 20 to 100 to 500 until we are filling up this space, because our problem is not the money that is being paid to this crew, because our registry is such that the crews that are being hired by the Philippines and other Eastern European countries are within means of the ship owners, because they are not as expensive as those in the close registry country. So in synopsis, we need a program. Instead of just saying we gave you scholarship, you go to Ghana and go and do a maritime training, or you can choose for yourself, and you graduate, and we're looking around, say, can you take this one guy on this vessel? That we shouldn't be really there. We can draw up a real regiment. I'll bring you to something else. The Freeport, for example, today you do not have marine services in the port because you don't have pilots, trained pilots in the port. So the concessionaire APM terminal is providing marine services, something that is unknown anywhere else in the world, because marine services has national implications. You can't have a foreign company managing your waters, bringing things in and out. Marine services, again, has implication for this maritime safety I talk about, because our port here is the only one that has the tugboat. If a ship is burning in the sea, if we're controlling that tugboat, the Freeport can send that ship there with a fire engine to put the fire off. But if we ask APMT to send her ship there, or tugboat there, it will be within their right to sit down and say, let's do the numbers. I mean, or what do you pay me to do that? What kind of insurance you have and all that. So, or we have not even been able to create a program to take 6 to 10 Liberians out of here for 5-6 years and train them as marine pilots so that they can work in our ports. So it's not about whether Liberians are on the ship and whether they want them there or not. No, we have not done what's necessary to be able to get a bigger share of the opportunities.
Can I have a follow-up? Can I have a follow-up, Gabriel?
Yeah, go ahead. I had
thank you. It's a very good thing. I think one of the essence of this FOL discussion is about bringing solution. What could be the lowest hanging fruit in achieving this whole national coup, that opportunity for Liberia? And say, okay, let me not elaborate. Let me just start there. What could be the lower hanging fruit in meeting this identical requirement to ensure that we have a national coup?
Right. That's a great question. I don't know if he heard you.
Prince, can you come on after
so
this?
So you mean the low-hanging fruit for having Liberians on vessels, right?
Yes, I'm here.
Well,
national crew.
You mean?
Yes, he said low-hanging
Prince,
fruit.
You're saying what would be the low-hanging fruit that we can engage right now to get Liberians working on ships?
Yes.
To have our national crew.
We don't own. Remember now, we don't own ships.
To have our national crew, that's what I'm saying.
Even though the ships are flying our flag, the ship owners have a demand on what a crew should look like.
Okay.
Prince, you got anything to say?
Yes. So let me just.
So the low hanging fruit is to draw. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. You guys are breaking up a little bit, Prince. I told you saying, what can we do now to get Liberians on vessels? What I'm saying to you is that to get Liberians on the vessel, we have to understand the demand of the ship, and then we have to train our people to that demand.
Yeah, I'm talking about to establish a national crew. What could, if you say we want to establish a national crew, it will take us 5 years, and 5 years will require what the labor requirement and capital cost, and you put it down. That's what I'm trying to say. That we want to meet a 5-year target or 6-year target to have a national crew. Let me just put it in a simple way like that. We want to meet a 5-year target or 6-year target to have a national
Correct. Crew. So to have a national crew, so the top of the crew would be the captains, the marine engineers, and all that. It would take about 5 to 6 years to train these people, but you have to train them concomitantly with the other lower classes that will work on the ship to make up that crew. So you have to draw up a program, identify the institution that will train them, send them out there, and then pair them, and then offer them to the ship. So we're talking about 6 years if you put a plan together. And it's not too much about funding, because we can also factor in how the agents can facilitate the training of these people, or we can seek a bilateral arrangement with, for example, the United States government, the U.S. Maritime Authority, and say, can you guys help us build our crew? Give us scholarships to these maritime schools. But it has to start first with a plan. Right. And for you to do that plan, you got to understand what the demand of the ships are.
Yeah. Prince, I think you had a question.
All right, so let me say thanks to Cyrus. I mean, sometimes if you listen to Liberians in other parts of the world, and even in Liberia here, and you see where Liberia is, you are just out of word. Because we have professionals or qualified Liberians who can do the best, who can do the work. Then why is it that we are still where we are? I mean, everything around the world in Liberia, it is the direct opposite. Some of the things I've heard on Cyrus, and he's a Liberian citizen. In fact, he's on a show from Liberia. Yet he has never worked with the Maritime Authority before. And so, I just got one or two questions, Cyrus. I will just give all two. You look into them. And so the first one is, Cyrus, with all that you explained. Everybody has asked you questions. What sort of loss of revenue does Liberia incur from what we're going through since 1945 or so you're talking about up to present, and we stay at this level? How does this country lose revenue from that? The second question is, Cyrus, if you asked the people at this government, to do a concept paper with timelines as to where Liberia will be in maybe the next 10 years with the kind of qualified professionals we need, especially at the higher level. We just talked about the marine service, which is true, that we do not have marine service at the Freeport of Monrovia, which is also it has security implication, like you said. So what will you be rating if you are asked by government or by, to help in a direction? What will you be saying? What sort of paper you're going to come away with the time? Where you think Liberia can be in? What's the time frame you can do that? Almost like the question that was just asked.
Now, that is a great question, Prince. And Cyrus, I think that put you in a driver's seat as to if you were to be put in charge, what would you do to remedy everything that you just elaborated? I think that's, if I can summarize it, right, Prince?
So, Prince, your first question was your first question was about revenue opportunities, right?
Revenue loss, yes, or losses.
And the second.
Hey. Okay.
The internet is very bad here in Liberia.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost him. Wow.
LIB. Look, why Cyrus is away and he will be coming back. Prince, you're in Liberia. There are things that we have to be deliberate about, right? Especially when you're heading an entity to groom people. Here we're talking about Liberians are available. Here is Cyrus as a person, as a professional. This guy is literally,
very knowledgeable.
Knowledgeable about this stuff.
Yeah.
Right? This guy is saying that they say, well, something that said a king is not respected at his home, but he's respected somewhere else, something like that. Right?
I think that is only practice in Liberia.
Yeah, but we gotta be deliberate about certain things. And Depo here is my witness. When you take an entity, especially an entity like the Maritime, where you need real technical experience, you have to be deliberate about human resource development, about attracting trainable people who have interest in that area, right? For example, I don't mean to brag, and Depo is my witness. When I was appointed to start the Financial Intelligence Unit in Liberia, we didn't have experts all over the place, but I was deliberate with the help of other people. I was deliberate in identifying people who I know will succeed, right? So I hired people who had economic background, who had auditing background, who had different background, who could succeed, and put them through training. Even myself, I needed additional training in that area, so I went and did my certification program in that area, right? And along with my deputy, we all got qualified. And then we trained us. Then we brought other people on board from the U.S. Treasury, from other places, to train these people. Now, today we have a cadre of people at the FIU who even the banks are chasing, right, to take them from the FIU. So these things about human resource development, you have to be deliberate about it. And we have an opportunity here with the LMA. Since 1947 or whenever the LMA started to date, we don't have, like Depu said, we don't have a
national crew.
A pool, a national crew.
Right.
And I do know the late William Doe. He was a seaman for years, right? Where is the seaman union? What are we doing about deliberately training people to meet the demand of these ships just over a 5 or 6 year period? And then, like you said, Prince, there are revenue losses at the result of it not being deliberate. Well, I mean, Cyrus is gone, but
I don't know whether we could reach him via the phone. Via WhatsApp.
Reach him via the phone. Then, I don't know his number.
There's 2 questions that I had on the revenue. If we have 3,726 ships, how much are we making? Oh, there he is. Back.
He's back. Okay.
Cyrus, welcome. Hopefully you can hear us again. Maybe you can just take off from answering Prince's questions.
Yeah, this is a great question.
Yeah, let him
Prince,
respond to
Prince was asking about
Yeah, respond to
Prince
Prince.
was asking about revenue. But
Yes, go ahead.
Prince's first question was about revenue opportunities, right?
No,
Yes.
it was revenue lost as a result
So
of
I mean,
customer
for that
acting.
part, it's hard to measure, except to say that there are enormous opportunities. Right.
Okay. So do we know how much?
So again, Alex, you're a finance guy. To say revenue lost is it's hard to put your hand around it. We can talk. So I didn't hear the question, but let's come to the money from the registry.
Okay.
The
That's
money
what
from
I
the
want.
registry.
Right.
So
Right.
I'll take you back to prior to 2000. We were getting around $34 million a year prior to the split of the registry between IRI and Liberia and the Marshall Islands. When that split took place in the first few years, we started to get somewhere around $14 million because half of the money roundabout was going to the Marshall Islands. But what I want to stress again is the fees that we are receiving, the tonnage tax and the corporate tax, is really the small pool in the industry. Prince question about crewing the vessels. That's an enormous revenue area. Because if we were to have even 200 Liberians who are applying vessels around the world, I think the Philippines, for example, because they invested in crewmen, I'm not sure it's still the same, but when I was in maritime school, the remittance or the income from maritime crew and nursing crew from the Philippines constituted the largest component of the revenue envelope. So there are enormous opportunities in these areas, but there are also some low-hanging fruits here. For example, I'll give you a practical example that will blow your mind. Every rainy season, every dry season, when the beaches open, there are a lot of drownings that go on. If you go to Ala Lagoons, I went there, there's this part of the sea that is beyond the banks. I was sitting with a guy who owned Ala Lagoon one day, and he said that they just bury 4 kids on the sand bed there. It happens all the time. So if you go to Tropicana Beach, for example, they have these self boats to say you can go in the ocean, but they have a big sign there say, or you will swim at your own risk, even though they are giving you alcohol to drink. Suppose the Maritime Authority just went and recruited guys who can swim already from Popo Beach, New Crew Town, West Point, King Gray,
Right.
and just brought them under an umbrella for maybe 6 weeks and train them how to do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, how to use the inner tube to collect people and bring them back.
Mm-hmm.
Within less than 1 year, we probably could compel recreational activities along the beach to employ 200 persons and put a tower up so that every facility has at least 2 lifeguards, and they will not be allowed to open until they can employ these lifeguards to be able to provide safety. This is a low-hanging fruit here that could amount to probably $1 million a year just in revenue coming to these employees. So I come back to say it because we do not staff our institutions with the people who are trained in the institutions, who can benefit from examples in other countries. We miss the opportunities that are available to us. We've looked at maritime affairs all through its history in Liberia as that ship registry, where when they collect the money, they take out the operating costs, they keep 20%, and they give us what's left over. I don't know whether there's a significant amount of money that is even left over today that comes to the Liberian government. I'll be surprised if it's more than $20 million a year. But we have a lot more opportunities in the industry than just waiting to collect tonnage and corporate taxes.
And that brings into my question that I posed in the chat there, if you can read it.
I don't know if you even have
Cyrus, look in the chat.
If nobody has any more questions, we will run to the comments.
Yeah, so I see the question, Alex, but I do not have those specifics. I think we can ask the LMA we can ask the LMA to provide that to us, but I do not have those specifics. So I have the
but how they split this money? How they split? How much go to LMA? How much any part of the question? How much goes to LISCR? How much goes to Maritime? How much goes to Liberia through the budget? What percentage of this goes to the budget to benefit the Liberian people?
But the money set that goes in the budget doesn't benefit Liberian people. So that's
at least as I was saying, I don't know the specific. I don't even know if we have a ceiling with the agent on how much money we can spend for operating costs. So if we don't have that, so say they collect $100 million and they say they spend $40 million on operations, then we get to share 80% of what is left over, and they keep 20%. I don't know whether we can actually LMA or LISCR to give us those specifics.
No, but I read something in the Daily Observer when they revised the LISCR agreement. One of the key points was increasing Liberia's share from 20% to 30%, and also giving LISCR control of the Liberia Maritime Institute. So you're talking about 80% here. So, but they were talking about 30% given to Liberian to the Liberia government. So
there's a huge discrepancy there. That's a big jump from 80 to 30%.
So don't put me on the gallon time for that. So when we're actively involved in the maritime business, Liberia was receiving 80% of the net income from the corporate and tonnage tax. So somewhere along the line, maybe they have had new agreements to shift that around. However be the case, we are not directly involved in the actual management of the fleet. And that's where my concern is. And also, we are not involved in the other peripheral businesses of maritime affairs. I could go into some. There's something called the 40-40-20 rules that allows us as a country to open a national shipping line. And if we do open a national shipping line, we are entitled to 20% of all the cargo coming to our country, and 40% of all the cargo coming here, and 40% of all the cargo going out. This is a very unpopular move for the private sector companies, but it has enormous source of revenue. So if we were to start a Liberian national shipping line, even without a ship, because we are entitled by law to 20% of all the cargo coming and 40% of all the cargo coming in our country and 40% of all the cargo leaving, we have that capture cargo.
Right.
We can actually sit with the ships and say, look, you guys are carrying our cargo. We will hire a company to do the job for us, even though we don't have the capacity. But while we are it, do carry that cargo, but can we put a premium, a surcharge on that cargo company that belongs to us? And it will be easier for us to get hundreds of millions of dollars every year without even lifting our hands.
Wow.
Anybody?
Any more questions?
I think it's better for us to.
Maybe you could just roll over my question. I was asking if you're asked to.
Prince, go ahead.
Maybe we can go to the comments and phone calls.
As I was saying, if we just roll over, I really want you to get dive into that. Cyrus, maybe we just ask you more. Maybe the person calls you, somebody calls you. Cyrus, do us a concept paper. Just give us a timeline. Maybe from now to this 5-10 years, this is what needs to be done. Because this is something very, very, very frustrating.
So a team of trained maritime persons, including myself, can do that within 12 months. Can come up with an entire master plan on the advantages that we have and opportunities, and then we build up on it over the years. But there are glaring opportunities that we are not leveraging because we have not tried to do that. And I believe the reason is because those sitting in the seat of authority in the industry are not knowledgeable about the industry.
Clueless.
Great.
So, one
I
more
mean, not
question
to
to
say
you.
that some work is not being done at the LMA. No, I don't mean that. But I think if you look at it from that if you look at it from skill, I think we are way lower than what we have the advantage to be doing right now.
Have you done something like that to offer yourself to them as your service to them to say, hey, listen, guys, I
Oh yeah,
know, and
I have
what was their
written.
reaction, their response?
I mean, the reactions were friendly, but they don't go beyond that. As an example, this issue I told you about putting live guys on the vessel,
Yeah,
I wrote it out for them. I explained to BN when he was there. He said I should write it out.
yeah,
Wrote it out
being
for them.
Castelli.
He put his team in a room. I went in and I demonstrated that to them, plus some other things. But they have the choice to choose their priorities.
Yeah. So Cyrus, I have the government of Liberia budget in front of me right now that I was looking at because I was interested in what goes to the benefit of the Liberian people, through the budget. So I see here in the actual amount for the fiscal year 2020-2021 in the budget was 10.5 million. Then if you look at the medium-term framework budget, that is medium-term meaning the 3-year budget, starting from 2022, 2023, and 2024, we have 11 million for 2022 draft budget, and the forecast for 2023 and 2024 are $12 million each. So, I mean, these are healthy figures that are contributing to the Liberian budget, right? So, because my question was, we don't know probably the total, we don't have the figures now in terms of the total revenue, the average revenue over the last 5 years, say from 2016 to 2021. That was my question. But at least if we go back, we have something with the draft budget. So my question was, so if you look at this and you do some mathematics, right? If you know the portion that is going to LISCR, the portion that is going to Liberian Maritime, because I know some of this money has to go to Liberian Maritime because Liberian Maritime is a state-owned enterprise that's supposed to, quote unquote, generate its own money and spend its own money and give the balance to the government of Liberia in terms of dividend. So portion of this money has to go to the Liberian government through the budget, and portion has to go to Liberian Maritime to fund its operation, right? So if you look at it, you could, if you look at 12 million a year over the next 3 years, right? On average, $12 million a year. If you look at the portion that may be going to Maritime, I don't have Maritime budget here, but something might be going to Maritime, and maybe the lion's share might be staying with LISCR. So let's say maybe 100 million. Let me just say 100 million. So that 100 million, maybe 70 million or 60 million is going to LISCR, and then some is going to Maritime and some is going to the government like Liberia. If 30%, so if you divide 12 million by 30%, then you probably will get the total ballpark. So my worry is,
well, I think
so
this,
my question
these
is,
are
why
information
we
that
need,
the Liberian people can gather.
yeah, so if you look at the budget, you can divide it. If what I read on the Daily Observer is it will go by that the Liberia increase its portion, Liberian government increases portion from 20% to 30%, then if you divide 12,000, if you divide 12,000 by 30%, then you probably know the total amount, right? So my question is, if a lot of this money is going to LISCR, it's like we have APM terminal at the NPA, right? So why do we need LISCR? Why not the LMA and does this work? And all the money, most of the money, at least most of the money will come to Liberia.
The
Alex.
LMA, I understand money issue and the figures you are calling, Alex. I don't know how you're coming. I don't know how the calculations are done, but what I can tell you is at this time, and maybe in the near future, we do not have the ability to manage maritime fleet. There are dozens of offices around the world. There are proprietary knowledge and information that we're not even staffing the basic offices here with the people who have been trained. I mean, for you to imagine that we get up one morning and say, look, guess what? We're going to pull this rock from under a LISCR and we send Liberians all over the world to manage these offices. Technically, I don't think we can do it. Legally, that may be a whole lot of other questions. I think for the short to medium term, this agency arrangement will have to suffice. But what we can begin to do is to insist that these offices are staffed with Liberians who are trained in the industry at appreciable leadership levels so that we can evolve over time to at least take the kind of stand that you, Alex, are asking for. That 12 million figure you talk about in the budget, it's hard for us to know exactly how much money is being collected, except we were to require of the acts of the ship owners to provide a statement of their payments to LISCR.
Let me come in a second. So, and I've been knowing Cyrus for a long time. Cyrus is an expert in this field. This whole business of LISCR is something we've been in discussions for years. I've always argued that LISCR is ripping off the Liberian government. In fact, Cyrus, you wrote an article back in 2018 where you suggested that the Maritime could be an opportunity for growth. This was something you wrote for employment and stuff in Liberia. So I just want to know two things real quick. Do you still share in that opinion? And then I want to add a second thing. So I'm going to share something real quick. It's not going to be up there very long. I'm going to share something real quick. Here's the deal. This whole business of LISCR and how much money, I've actually been working on this thing for years. I've been collecting the data. The data is actually out there in terms of how much money LISCR collects, how much they send to Liberia, how much money they keep for themselves. In fact, years ago, Beaufort Chambers stood out there and criticized Madam Sirleaf for saying that she was paying lobbying fees. He didn't understand the whole business of tonnage and the whole business of how LISCR collects money. LISCR actually collects this money and they post it. They have to report it to the U.S. Department of Justice. LISCR today is ripping off the Liberian government. Why do I say that? Cyrus mentioned it early on, right? What Cyrus mentioned early on, in fact, was we don't know how much they're spending on administrative expenses. LISCR is spending millions on administrative expenses. Based on what I've calculated so far, LISCR collects maybe on average between $60 to $80 million every 6 months. They're collecting in excess of $120 million per year. But that whole 80-20 split that Cyrus mentioned, it's not really 80-20. It was 80-20 for a while until this government came in, and then LISCR kind of changed the percentage a little bit. LISCR is run by the Cohen brothers up in Virginia. You know, the Cohen brothers based in Virginia. These guys have been running this thing for years. And to answer your question, Alex, we cannot do anything because we don't have people working at LISCR who are learning the software, who are learning the operations. Unlike in Panama, where a lot of the Panamanians are involved in that operation, we don't have Liberians involved in the operation over in Virginia. So it's extremely difficult for us to get in there and manage this stuff. So that's how we can't even take it over, right? So LISCR does collect a ton of money, but a lot of that money does not go back to Liberia based on the arrangement. And today, LISCR is involved in a lot of things they really shouldn't be involved in. They shouldn't be involved in lobbying efforts for the Liberian government. They're actually paying lobbying fees for the Liberian government to lobby for George Weah to come to the U.S. That's not part of the agreement. I think this is the 1998 or 1999 agreement that is put in place. They shouldn't be doing that. Why are they doing it? So my final question before we take calls, my final question to you is, based on the sanctions right now, the Russian sanctions, is Liberia at risk of losing revenue because ships moving cargo from Eastern Europe over to other parts of Africa and around the world, will it be impacted by the sanctions? Or are we at risk of losing revenue? I think we lost him.
Yeah, Larry, it's good that you brought that spreadsheet up, and I was just doing a simple arithmetic here, right? Okay, so there is a Daily Observer article that says Senate grant the top. It was in 2021. Senate grants President Weah's request amends LISCR deal. In there, it says the Senate committee assured the plenary that the ratification will increase the Liberia Maritime Authority revenue share from 25% to 30%. Right?
But here's the thing, Alex. You know what?
So what I did was I took that 30%. I took the figure in the budget, right, which is 12 million. I divided that by 0.3. I get about 40 million. So if you're talking about 60 million, 80 million, 120 million, it's not far from there. All right. So what I'm saying is, so even if it's 40 million, even if it's 60 million, even if it's 80 million or 120 million,
right, how
much of that we are leaving on the table as a country?
Yes,
right?
A lot.
And you were also alluded to the fact that we don't have the manpower to man those places in Virginia and other places. What is wrong with us training people? We have professionals.
Well, it's the same thing with the airport. It's the same thing with the airport. We have the wrong people in the wrong position.
And our flag, the running.
We got people at the airport who are not qualified. We got people at Maritime who are not qualified. You got someone like Cyrus who's been doing the thing for years. And look what Prince was asking. Prince was asking, how come we got somebody like Cyrus who's on the ground here? Instead, he's not doing this stuff. Like Cyrus said, he get more respect over when he's at the Maritime conference than the people who work. Exactly. Yeah. But you know what they're catching Liberia? They're catching Liberia on the administrative expenses. So so they can say, okay, we raised 100 million. It's supposed to be 20 million to 80, what is it, 2080, something like that.
Yeah.
But they increase the expenses. And the crazy thing is they post how much they are paying for travel, for hotel, for everything. That's why they're catching Liberia on office expenses, on flights, on hotel. Liberia pays for all of that stuff. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And because we don't have,
I know you guys wanted to take calls, so I just wanted to throw that stuff.
I don't think we have anybody at that ministry to be able to kind of keep them honest about the cost. We just take whatever they report to us to say, if they say we've paid this much on expenses, that's what we accept. We don't have anybody overseeing it or anybody that's still on the board.
I won't be surprised if LISCR is also funding a few people on the legislative side to make sure that nothing happens to that contract. I won't be surprised with that. But yeah, I know you guys want to take calls, so I will listen in again.
Yeah. Okay. So do we take calls first, or do we go to comments? You guys make the calls.
Ask Prince if he has calls, he can take it. If you want to go to comments,
I think I can announce the number here. Then if anybody calls, out, and then some teachings will get it.
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. So this is a program focused on Liberia in partnership with Prompt FNJ Liberia. We've been on a discussion of our Maritime Authority working in while Liberia stands to loss or benefit from aid since so many years. You hear the discussion quarters on 0770 1500. If you've been following, you can call us on 0770 1500. You have question or comment. Of course, the panelists and the guests will pick it up and answer them for you. You can also call this as an automated line 077705 3336 0777 05 33 36. I'll call the numbers again. The first number is 0770 1051, 0770 1051, and the alternative is 0777 05 3336. 0777 05 3336. So you can go ahead to comment.
Okay, somebody keep sharing the comments, but I don't know if we want to take them one by one. I don't know who's in the back there. Just keep sharing the comments. Do we want to take them one at a time, or do we just want to share all of them and take them? I don't.
Yeah, just do it one at a time, and then Cyrus can take out the one he wants to. I don't know if Depu has something.
So whoever's sharing the comment, just continue sharing them. I think somebody else is in control. All right, there we go. So we have a comment from Emmanuel Jackson. I said two areas of opportunity. Liberia should acquire huge sum of revenue, maritime and maritime tourism. I guess that was a statement. Forever says process greeting from, I don't know. We are after the opportunity. We are not after the opportunity. That's Frida. This guy is busy. I mean, who's sharing the comment? Easy. I can't read too fast like that. River says pro. Does every ship or vessel fall under the maritime? Well, at least the one that I registered towards should. The next one. I don't know how you say your name. I don't know. Fridas. Liberia has the first opportunity. It's supposed to be first opportunity, but we are not using it at all. I am a seaman. Bosom. I don't know what that meant, but I guess you guys know what that meant. Maybe I help you guys. I guess this guy is a seaman, so he's offering his help as well. Cyrus,
I responded to his comment and say, yeah, please go ahead.
Let him reach out to Cyrus. I think Cyrus stands a better opportunity to taking this thing and grabbing it by this horn. Alcin Saba, the Economic Planning Ministry needs to establish a research department at Liberia's Maritime and Education Department to coordinate research necessary to improve the effectiveness of the education program for Liberians in these specific area or disciplines. I agree. Yeah. Next. Emmanuel Jackson again, he said the Boston Seaport Authority has remodeled the dry docks, shipping repair, and instituting master degree program of Maritime Institute on Cape Cod. The government of Liberia could do draft plan with Massachusetts to expand our maritime program. That's always that opportunity I think Cyrus was talking about. Next comment. So what about the fishing boats? This is the seaman again. Austin again, he said the topic is very interesting because these ideas could help us develop opportunities for our own while carrying the Liberian flag. Emmanuel Jackson again, he said it is possible to divert some of the revenue from LISCR and LMA for development of the West Point as a seaport tourist haven. Like we do have like he's talking about, like we have the seaport district. That place was underwater, but they have developed that place. When you walk there, you'll probably think you're in central New York. But anyways, go ahead. Austin again, he said the interest here is to capture coordinated training program and placement, not even in the revenue now, because as stated by Mr. Gray, that's a small change.
So I just had a call yet. We'll just pick it up. Good evening.
Yeah, let's go to that. All right. I'm
going to be live on the radio.
Okay.
Hello, live on the radio. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Let's continue with the comments.
Thank you.
All right. Who is this? Man, this guy's busy. Liberian seaman passport sold for hundreds of dollars. I guess he's accusing people here. James Ponto. Let me ask you one question. Ellen government telling than telling any other government, your please talk about $50 million that was given to her to build 22 aircraft, a better airport. Jesus. Then then she built two aircraft spaces. I guess he's talking about $50 million given to Ellen administration to
Yeah,
I've
Jim.
never heard
Jim
of
is
that. So maybe you
no
guys can
Jim.
speak to that.
Jim. The question is about your ex telling she was given 50 million to build it, and then she built something smaller. That's what she was talking about. So we should
Yeah.
go back and bury the dead.
You will keep burying people from the back. You will not move forward. More comments? We're done.
Okay, I have a question for Cyrus. Are you hearing me, Cyrus?
Loud and clear.
Okay, this besides this whole maritime management, there was this problem that I think back in 2016, 17, we were working on this boundary delimitation, the maritime boundary delimitation. What are some of the prospects and what are the challenges that we have in terms of that? Is it something that we pursue because it is something that has to do with protecting our resources, including, in fact, the whole green economy we're fighting for, blue economy will be done better if we have our own boundary identified.
Depu, your voice is going up and
Yeah,
down.
Depu, you're going in and out.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
So I think I got the question. So
Uh,
there are
because
two things
we
here.
have a situation like Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana had to go to court because of the oil situation. And similar thing will happen to Liberia. I know that we have not gotten the delimitation down completely, but what could be the opportunity there were we to pursue this?
So I don't know of any dispute with our maritime borders yet. On a practical terms, we have 350 miles coastline, right? And 12 miles into our waters, 12 nautical miles into our waters from our coast is called our territorial waters. 188 miles from that point of the 12 miles is called our exclusive economic zone. So what basically is we have 200 miles into our sea where we have the exclusive rights to exploit resources. The demarcation between the 12 and 188 is about free passage. So no vessel can come within 12 miles of our territory without us giving them permission to traverse our water. But vessels can go through the 188 miles without asking our permission. But the 200 miles is our exclusive economic zone that we can exploit. Now, to your question, I don't know of any dispute about our right to that maritime acreage. I think you may have been talking about the delimitations that were given by Liberia in terms of fishing our waters. So if that is the question, then that's a policy issue because we have 200 nautical miles, but I think the government made a decision that we reserve certain number of miles from the coast for artisanal fishermen, that the big trawlers that will be licensed would not be allowed to come into that near water so that they will not exploit the fish that will be left for our artisanal fishermen. And then somewhere during early period, they reduced that acreage a little bit and gave rights to the big ships to come a little more closer to the coast. Whatever the circumstances is, those are policies that we as a government can control because it's about making decisions on how we allot the use of our territorial waters. I don't know the limits now with NAFA. I don't know what they are delimited for the artisanal fishermen and what they've left for the big trawlers. My only concern on that side, which is a good question too, if we take a look at the fact that in 1979, one of the two companies fishing our waters who were Liberian owned declared a net income of $49 million just from fish products, the Maserado group of companies, in 1979. They were running about 31 trawlers. They had canning factories. They were processing fish here and shipping them to supermarkets in London, Paris, New York. We still have that water. We still have those marine resources, but we are not as skilled as we were some 40 plus years ago. I did a economic analysis for NAFA sometimes in 2018 when they were trying to convert the old Maserado ice factory at the north side of the Freeport into a fishing pier. That has not materialized yet. I hear of late they are trying to tender for somebody to build a fishing pier. There again lies some opportunities. Companies come to us and they ask for rights to fish in our waters, and we license them those rights, but they do not process the fish in our water. So they give us a cash plan while they're in our water, a certain amount, and based on those numbers that they presume they will be catching, we levy 6% taxes on them. After they get through fishing, they give us their concluding numbers so we can reconcile it. I don't know yet whether we have a means of even determining whether they caught the number they say they were going to catch, the species they said they were going to catch, or the numbers were more or not. Until such time that we develop the capacity on the ground, like people do in Ghana and Ivory Coast. If you go to Tema, you have a fishing pier there. Every ship that is fishing in Ghanaian water, you have to process that fish at that port. So it provides opportunity for canning companies. It provides opportunity for people dealing in fish oil and all that. We still haven't taken advantage of that yet. So that is still an unknown. I can easily presume that we are losing hundreds of millions of dollars because we just, like the issue of maritime, we just refuse to capture the full extent of the industry so we understand what are the values there that will be able to increase our income.
Okay, on that note, I know that I did some work too on the competition.
We're about to wrap up, though.
Prince, I think we're about to wrap up, right?
Yes, we are. We are.
All right, then I can stop there.
Yeah, we'll have to bring Cyrus back another time. But my closing would just be, Cyrus, thanks so much for your time. Highly educated. It's always good bringing experts here to focus on Liberia, where the aim here is to educate and inform the people. So it was great having you here, Cyrus. Hope you will come back again. That's it for me. I don't know if Prince, Alex, Gabriel, you guys want to add something before Alex just say, because I know we're closing in like a minute.
Yeah, no, I'm.
Yeah, for me, there was an eye opener, and Cyrus brought a lot of stuff on the table. And this speaks to some of the problems that we have in our country from time to time. And I just want to piggyback on one of the statements from, I think, Panto, that, this whole thing about they did it in 1822, they did this in 1847, this did not happen this time. It takes, when Ellen came to power, for her first 4 years, she did very well. She made a lot of reforms, she did a lot of stuff. Towards her 5th year, it started dwindling down. Where it comes to power, it has to be different. We have a country to go. This country is a going concern. It has to go forward. It just takes one person who is the leader of this country to change this country around. So this thing about, Ellen we fault Ellen for taking, for certain things that she's done wrong. But not because this person didn't do it in 1847, this person didn't do it in 1821, this person didn't do it in 2006, so we can't do it, we can't improve this country. It took Jerry Rawlings to lift up Ghana to get Ghana to where it is today. It took Paul Kagame to lift up Rwanda to get it where it is today. It took Lee Kuan Yew to lift up Singapore to get it to where it is tomorrow. Today, if it has to take George Weah to get Liberia to where we want to go, or it has to take somebody else in 2023 to get Liberia to where it has to go, then so be it. So, but this, living in the past and playing this blame game and let the dead bury the past. Let the living move on.
Cyrus, thank you very much. If I have money, I will pay you to commission a report to do that, and maybe you can come back on the show to share it. But I don't have that money to hire your services, but I think that would be a great thing. If I were any of these people with any of these, opposition running, I will pay you to do that. Say, hey, I will be running for president, upcoming election. Give me a report. Take the 12-month, write a report, and come share it with us. But hey, that's just a thought. If I had money to personally, I would do that and bring you back on the show to come share it with us. But I think you're a very knowledgeable guy. There's a lot we learn from it, from you. Hopefully, this is not your last time coming here. Hopefully, we can see you doing something in the Maritime, because I think you have the knowledge to be able to take that beast and turn it into a steak for everybody. Yeah. Thank you.
Anything, Prince? Oh, Cyrus, you want to let Prince wrap up, then we give it to Cyrus.
Yeah. So let me say thanks to Cyrus. It's wonderful hearing you tonight as a professional Liberian citizen who is so passionate about his country. It is our hope that one day, like Alex said, one day the right person will come, so that we would not just be making ourselves shame all the time. Because, like I said, everything that happens around us in Liberia, it is the direct opposite. There's no if and end about that. That's just a fact. Everything around us in Liberia, we're talking about internet. You see what we go through sometimes. We have access to internet. This is something that people have passed by years ago. So let me say thanks. I hope that we're going to have you again on the platform another time to talk about other things. So thanks so much for being on our show tonight.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Cyrus, you can give us your
I want to. I think you guys can hear me. I realize I probably could have talked without the earpiece. But Larry,
I was alluding to that.
Yes, he was.
Larry, thanks, Vice Candidate. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to share. I really believe that that we have enormous opportunities, and I think we take it for granted. We're a small country. We are not many. We have, in most cases, all the agencies around us to be able to make our country successful. And in these industries like maritime affairs, they're knowledge-centric. We've trained people. For example, when I went to the maritime school in 1999, my $45,000 a year was paid for by the government of Norway as an assistance to the people of Liberia. So when I have a chance to speak about these issues, I'm glad to do so, because it's a form of giving back. The training that I've had have worked for me. I've worked all over the world. I've worked in all kinds of capacities. So it's not that I've had a loss. But I think that huge opportunities here. We need to pull our ranks, all of us as people, and really tap into the capabilities that we have, whether it be for the development of airport, seaport, our maritime program, and everything we do. Because if we establish that critical mass of knowledge, I think we can move this country much quicker than we think. So I'm glad that I could join you guys, so we have these deliberations. If for any reasons you want me to come over again, just give me a heads up, like Larry did. I'd be glad for us to talk.
Definitely.
Thank you very much. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, to all our viewers and listeners, I know in Liberia the hour is far spent. Prince, we want to thank you and all our folks over there, especially you, Mr. Cyrus L. Gray. We really appreciate this knowledge. And wherever you use it, apply it to whoever wants it. We hope it will be used for Mama Liberia more than anything, because we're all Liberians and we want to see her succeed. But in the event things don't materialize, brother, use it for the betterment of mankind. To all our listeners and viewers, thank you very much. This is Focus on Liberia, the Marketplace. And remember, like Alex just said, whether it's we are or Ellen or whoever comes to take the lead, we are all Liberians.
Yep. We are Liberians. Okay, guys. Liberia is our home. Liberian people.
Gabriel, you good?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Yeah, man. Thanks. Good job, man. Good discussion. I see you are getting passionate about this stuff.
Yeah. There's so many of us. So sometimes you don't have a way to ask all the question. Yeah. But
yeah, there's a lot of talent in Liberia, huh?
There's a lot of talent, hidden talent, and I think what baffles me is like people like him. They just keep him aside. They just keep him aside. Like since BN Cassidy went back to Johnson and Johnson right now. He's at Johnson and Johnson. This guy could have been in there, could have been doing a lot of things. He's very knowledgeable. Like I know when somebody's BSing when they're talking, and when somebody's talking, they know what they know, right? So we can go blame all the people that are doing this. We are our own problem, my man. We are our own problem. We are our own problem. We are our own problem. We are. We can go blame the LISCR, the people not letting our people work. Because we don't put our best foot forward. We don't put our best foot forward. You leave somebody like this outside, and the man is very knowledgeable. He went to not like to say he did that stuff in Liberia. There, he went to the actual schools, put a plan together, let him come and see what he can do, and recruit a lot of people around him. But sometimes you listen to this thing, you get frustrated, man.
Hey, I got a question to ask you. What do Liberian people? I always hear them say we don't like that. So say one, so say all. What does that mean? We do not like that. So say one, so say all. What are they referring to?
So when it said we don't like so say one, so say all, it means that if one person speak, they don't speak for everybody. So just everything this guy was saying here, somebody else could come in and rebuttal everything that he was saying and say, oh, well, even though that's what he's saying, that doesn't mean that's what the government wants. What he's saying sound great, to everybody else, but the government could have a different agenda. So just because he says that and it sounds great to everybody, that doesn't, that's not what everybody else says,
Yeah, I agree. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So do you think, question, after hearing this guy speak, let me ask you a question. Out of that $2,000 of your investment in Liberia, what percentage would you like to give towards that cause?
Listen,
what percentage?
If this guy put a plan together to say if you were even starting a private ship registry or something like that, I would really consider it.
What percentage? I'm talking about the country level now. We're talking about what percentage of your 2,000 would you say would you allocate
to like from the country level?
Yeah,
to invest in what?
In making all these things that he believes can happen. What percentage of your 2,000 are you okay to put in? And
I can't just go throw money. I can't go throw money on anything.
What percentage? Okay.
What he says, I have to see a plan.
Okay. Now, let me take a step back. Right. But someone like you, in the course of 1 year, $2,000, you potentially could have spent that on frivolous stuff.
Right.
Here's what I mean. You buy an extra pair of polo, you buy an extra pair of socks, you buy an extra food, you buy an extra pair of sneakers, you buy extra shoes, whatever it is. So you have $2,000. So the question is, are you convinced from what he's saying that what percentage of your $2,000? Is it 1%? Is it 5%? 5% is what? It's $100.
You can't invest in, you can't do investment like that.
I'm not talking about the investment stuff. You keep getting tied up in this word investment.
Maybe we're
talking about the development. We're talking about we're talking about the development of our nation. So this opportunity is an opportunity where it's already said that for the first year you get 3% return on the $2,000. Then you get 3%, second year, 3%, third year, fourth year, you get 5%, fifth year, 6%. And then you can cash out, but the last year, in a percentage. I'm just given that. So what I'm saying is that your money back to you is going to come back in that way. It's going to come back. So the question is, just like here, when you pay your taxes or when you invest in a bond as part of your retirement portfolio, right? The city used that bond maybe to build a bridge, but they pay you back. Sometimes they go over budget. Like in Boston, what's that bridge that they were building between Boston and it went over budget, right? But you guys were still taxed, or you guys were still paying for it. So, but you still made money on the bond. So what I'm saying is that the $2,000, what percentage of that $2,000 you think can allocate towards the Maritime?
For $2,000, I would say, from what it is right now, I can't put any money in now. If he were to be taking over,
we're not talking about who's in non-charge right now. We're talking about if there was, the thing is, all these ideas and stuff need funding, right? Right? Need funding, right?
Okay, so from that standpoint, I won't put any money in because I think that's a capital intensive thing to be in. So I don't know if I'll be able to get my money back. So I won't put any money in.
You wouldn't, right?
No.
You wouldn't, right?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay. Now, do you know that?
You know why?
Why?
Because I don't understand it. If I don't understand it, I can't put my money inside unless I invest my money with somebody who understands it and they're going to guarantee I get 7% back or something. I only invest in things that I understand or have a little.
I just give you a guarantee back, but you didn't even hear that.
Well, if you can guarantee me that,
but I did. Well, hold on, I did though. I said your $2,000 gives you 3%, 3%, 3%, 4%, 4%. Whether it's high or low or whatever it is, I guarantee.
If you can guarantee me that, I will put in the $2,000. I will put in.
No, I don't want to put you. I don't want you to put in the $2,000. Remember, we have a lot of issues to solve in Liberia.
Okay. In that case, I will put in, let's say, you can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, I will put in. 1 second. This thing is ringing. I'll say maybe 200.
Okay, so 10% will go towards Maritime.
Right.
Yeah. And yes, right. It's the we want to see the plan. We want to see the hiring. We want to see the implementation idea and all of those good stuff. We want to see the right people in place and so forth, right? But the idea here is that you're saying, hey, I'll put 10% of my $2,000 towards this. And the reason why I say that, right? The reason why I say that, let's look at that LICR, right? LISCR. The LISCR is the organization that's in.
We're still alive, right?